In this video, we'll go over how to use the blend behavior to create camera sequences and more. To get started, we'll open the blend tutorial example scene included in the Timeflow examples. This scene provides a basic setup with a camera and some simple geometry. We'll start by creating a new game object under the Timeflow group using the keyboard shortcut Alt-Shift-N. And name the object Blend or whatever you prefer. Use the keyboard shortcut Alt-tilde to view the object in Timeflow. This will be our container for the blend behavior, which we can add by right-clicking the object and selecting Add Animation Blend. This creates a new blend channel, and with it selected we can view more details in the inspector. The first step after creating a new blend behavior is to configure it in the Settings tab. Blend provides a wide range of possible configurations depending on what you want to do. In this case, we are going to use Blend to create a series of camera angles and animations that we can then edit together in a sequence. To do this, we'll want to set the position and rotation of the main camera. Grab the main camera in the hierarchy view and drag and drop it into each of the fields for the position and rotation. We can also enable setting the camera's field of view and again drag in the main camera reference. The other features we won't be using and can leave as they are. For now, we could skip the Properties tab and leave it empty since we don't need any custom properties right now. So next we'll go over to the Sets tab to get started defining our camera positions. We can create a new set by clicking Capture Set. This creates a new set with the current position and rotation of the camera. We can directly edit the fields, and since the set is currently in edit mode, it applies directly to the target object, which is the main camera in this setup. Let's zero out the coordinates and pull the camera back on the Z-axis, and name this set Front Wide. We can always come back and edit these details more later. We can then exit the edit mode by pressing Done. To create our next set, we'll select the main camera and this time use the Move and Rotate tools in the scene view to position it. Once we have positioned the camera where we want it, we can return to the Blend object and click Capture Set. This one we'll name Blue Cube, and since there's nothing else to change here, we'll click Done. We now have two sets created which we can alternate between by clicking the buttons at the top. We can also preview interpolation from one set to another by unchecking Hold and selecting each of the sets. The blend slider can then be adjusted manually to see the transition. We can also preview the animation between sets by playing Timeflow and clicking on either button. The duration is controlled by the transition slider and seconds field, which we can increase or set as desired. Note that once any keyframes have been set on the blend channel, directly previewing transitions with these buttons only works if manual override is enabled. Otherwise, the animation channel fully controls the output and nothing will happen when the buttons are pressed. We can keep manual override on while we create some additional sets. This time, let's select the Blue Cube set and click the Duplicate button to make a copy of it. Let's rename this set to White Pyramid, and then invert the X and Y rotation to flip the camera angle. Then click Done. We now have three sets created and can preview them as before. Notice that you can transition from any set to any other set. Now that we have some sets created, let's add more keyframes to the channel to create an edit sequence. Let's first be sure to exit manual override mode so that the keyframes channel is now active. In the Timeflow view, we'll select the first keyframe added earlier and make it go from Front Wide to Blue Cube. We can leave the other settings as they are for now and move the time forward a couple of seconds and set another keyframe. This one we'll set from Blue Cube to White Pyramid. And again, we'll move the time forward a couple more seconds and add a keyframe from White Pyramid back to Front Wide. For this last keyframe, let's disable the Auto Duration checkbox to enter a new duration manually of 2 seconds. Notice that each of the other keyframes automatically calculates the transition duration up to the following keyframe. At any point, you can turn off Auto to enter any value you wish. You can also offset the starting time of the transition. We can now play and preview what we've created so far. The process of creating sets and adding keyframes may be repeated to make any type of sequence needed. However, it is often helpful to go through the process of creating sets before getting too far into the animation. We'll now go over some of the additional ways you can create sets to perform more complex animations. By default, sets are created in a local coordinate space. This means that the position and rotation values displayed are applied to the target object in its local space relative to its parent object. Depending on what you're trying to animate, each mode has advantages. However, in the case of animating the camera, it's better to work in world space. We can convert the existing sets to world space by clicking Convert to World Coordinates, which will now apply to the world position of the camera. We can repeat this for all sets so that they're all operating in the same coordinate space. Otherwise, interpolating between them will not work properly. We can also take this a step further by clicking Convert to Transform. This creates a new empty game object with the set name and coordinates, which is now used as a placement anchor for the set. When using a transform, it can be placed anywhere in the hierarchy. Any changes made to the object's position and rotation affect any sets linked to it. By using game objects to manage the positions of each set, it makes it possible to do more complex things and more easily create variations. For example, we can create a new empty game object using Alt-Shift-N and naming the object Motion Path. We can then add this object to the current Timeflow view, and then right-click to add animation, New Motion Path. Switching to the scene view, we can see the default motion path created, which we'll leave as it is for now. Going back to the blend settings, let's create a new set by clicking Add Empty Set, and we'll name it Motion Path. And set the space to World and enable Use Transform. We'll then drag and drop the motion path object into the field. For now, we can leave it in edit mode to work on the motion path some more. To keep things simple, we'll just adjust the position of the start and end keyframes. And as long as the set is still in edit mode, we can preview the animation directly. Let's move the keyframes to where we want them in time, relative to the blend keyframes already set. And then we can Control-click to insert a new keyframe in the blend channel. We can now click Done to exit the edit mode. And let's now play back the animation to preview it. Since the keyframe mode is set to hold on the motion path, it acts like a cut in the camera sequence. If instead we want to make this a smooth transition, we can blend from the last view, front wide, to the motion path over the duration of, say, 1 second. We can adjust the timing of each keyframe to refine the results. And once again, we can create a keyframe to pick up the sequence going from the motion path to blue cube. Notice that we can move this keyframe and edit the timing for a lot of flexibility in fine-tuning the transition. Using this technique, it's possible to create any number of animations using any behavior and combining it into a sequence using Blend. We can go back now to edit each set and enter values for the camera's field of view. If any set doesn't define a value, then the field of view remains unchanged as it was last set. This can also be used with position, rotation, and any properties so that sets can be created which only affect certain attributes and leave others untouched. Once we have set our field of views for each set, we can once again preview the animation so far. To demonstrate how additional properties can be added, we can go to the Properties tab and click Add Property. By default, the property isn't mapped and will show with a warning to select one. Let's drag and drop another object to control, such as the directional light. We then need to click the button here to select a property. For this example, let's choose the light color to animate. If we now go back over to the Sets tab, we'll see that the color has been added with a default value for each set based on the current color of the light. As a test, we can set each one to a different color to see what happens. Keep in mind that you can add as many different properties and transforms as you want, and you can create different blend behaviors to control different aspects and groups. This could also be used to transition post-processing effects, volumes, or anything you can think of. That concludes this video on Blend. Please refer to the links in the video description below for further information.